Hello everybody, it's Joseph, or J Took with Moonlit Moth Creations, and I kind of wanted to take a moment to do a little showing of some soap stuff. I'm going to slide this into frame here because we're going to be talking about this. This is not specifically exactly one of my recipes, but this is a very good example of a soap recipe. This would be a little bit more advanced soap recipe because it does have a few things in there that are a little out of the ordinary on oils, because a lot of times you're not going to see some things like here, like this has mango seed butter, things like that are going to be quite pricey overall if you were to go around acquiring those ingredients, but it's really good kind of starting point for a bit of a standard tutorial and showing like what's involved in the recipe on paper, and showing you like some of the important numbers. This was actually one given to me as a template by a lady who kind of helped mentor me in my soap making early on, and so the writing there is not my handwriting, that was hers, but this is we'll go over some of this just as a little basic thing. All of this information you can get, there's tons of soap tutorial things out there, and once I go over this a little, I am going to show you some ingredients and some things like that I think are kind of fun and interesting and maybe a little bit different, some stuff that people wouldn't think about really whenever it comes to making soaps. But anyway, this recipe laid out like this, and I do use this site as well because it is free. I believe they do have a paid version where you can support the site, but their soap calculator is free of charge, and it is just you can even just Google soap calc, and it should come up in the first spot option there. I believe I can't remember if it's .com or .net, but it is soap calc, and it should pull up the soap formulary calculator for you. I tend to put my information in, and of course there's some things you'll learn before this is really pertinent information, but I want to talk about the numbers because this is kind of one of the fun areas of it for me whenever I am making soaps. So it's really nice because it's all plug-in. You can plug it and it will figure out the numbers for you, so you don't have to do all the calculations of getting these precise things in the calculator. That's the best part about the soap calc website, is that you can tell it what you want your soap to weigh, so like whenever you're looking, if you're wanting to fill a certain size mold or something, you can plug that in there, and just so say here for instance, and you can decide like your lye concentration. It lets you choose what numbers you want to plug in, and it will help calculate some of the remainder for you. Here, like superfats here, the superfat discount, being at 7%, this is all probably going to be Greek to some people, but I just thought I would talk about it a little bit. Superfats are going to be oils that are over the percentage needed for saponification. So it's going to allow, like adjusting that number will allow some of the attributes of your soap to be able to be adjusted a little bit depending, because it can increase ratios of certain attributes of an oil and its reaction in the soap. So you can see it's got the base information, water is percent of oil weight, and if you get into soap making and you look into tutorial stuff and kind of do like the beginner's crash course soap study, you'll quickly learn all of these various things. This lye concentration here, I feel like is maybe a little high for a standard beginner soap, but again, it's just a base and kind of shows some general things of like sort of what you would be looking at with the calculator. And like fragrance ratio, fragrance weight, you can decide this yourself. So the stronger you want your fragrance, if you are adding fragrance oils or essential oils that are going to provide the bouquet level, the fragrance level of your soap, you can adjust that. This I feel like is on the lower end for a fragrance soap. In a lot of my soaps, I tend not to put this fragrance, because a lot of times whenever people are putting this fragrance here, what they're considering fragrance is just a specific fragrance oil, which is almost a perfume. And I don't typically do that, just because I know a lot of people have, allergies to certain synthetic fragrances and things like that, and just also they can be skin irritants to people with sensitive skin conditions. So, but anyway, it does, it shows you, and it will kind of, whenever you hit the complete button on there to see this sheet, because where you plug your numbers in of what you're looking for, it's not quite like this. This is the finished product, and so it will calculate all these exact numbers for you. So I typically work, whenever I do soap, I work in grams, just because I tend to like that a little better, and I feel like it's a little bit more precise than working in ounces or pounds. It really works out the same, it's just as precise, but just the way my brain works, grams makes me feel better. So here, say in this soap recipe, the amount of water, because you do use water in soap creation, and your water will be added directly to your lye, and that's how you get your water lye ratio and lye concentration. But here, for instance, in this recipe, there's 517.4 grams of water. And now for your water in soap, you are going to want a really good quality water. You're going to want filtered water, spring water, that kind of thing. Tap water can be used if your area has a high quality, well-filtered, like city or county water, but it's just usually best to avoid any brown or orange spotting in your soaps, or any unwanted side effects, to use good filtered water. And then here, with this amount, it calls for 317.11 grams of lye. I will show you the lye. This is just, for instance, this is one lye you can use. This is an Amazon lye. Quite a scandalous little image there, isn't it? But sodium hydroxide is your typical lye that you will use for soap. If you're going to make shampoos or conditioners or things like that, the lye that you use in those is different. It is not this. It will be a different lye makeup, because this hardens your soaps more, and if you're wanting to make a liquid soap or something like that, you need something that's a little bit different from this. And like I said, this is not specifically, you don't have to have this brand or this type. This is just one of the many lye options. And it is, it is worth noting, soap making can be a dangerous adventure because you have to be careful. Lye is very caustic, and if you get lye on your skin, it can cause burns. When you add water to it, it gets very, very, very hot because it causes a reaction to activate the lye. And then again, whenever the lye is then added to oils, it heats again, because your lye and water will begin to cool down, and you'll want it to cool down a little bit whenever you are doing your soap making process. But when it is added back to the oils, it does have the chemical reaction again, and that's part of the saponification and making of soap. But it is just worth noting to be very, very careful when you are using lye and measuring it out and dealing with it. Gloves and safety eyewear and face masks are recommended, because when you do add your water into your lye and stir it to mix it, it does vapor and fume, and the fumes that come off of it are also airway irritants. So it's really best to do it in a well-ventilated area. I'm just saying all this because I feel like it's important safety information and things that people should know if it is something that they're looking at getting into. This is, but that is just, like I said, one of the options of lye. I just wanted to kind of show that a little bit and talk about it for a moment. And then, coming down here, it will tell you the amount of oil weight that you need. So your total oils for this recipe, this loaf of soap, would be 2,211.26 grams of total oil. And we'll get into those individual oil measurements coming up here shortly. And here, fragrance, it's hard to see because the printout kind of had a little error on that line, but that is the fragrance there, and it is calling for this fragrance at that ratio to have a total of 69.12 grams of fragrance. And again, that's something, that's just going to depend on, all of these numbers are going to depend on the size of the mold you're using, whether you're using cold process or hot process. This is very much a cold process soap recipe. But anyway, and then it will tell you the soap weight before cold process cure or the hot process cook. So your total wet soap is going to weigh 3,114.89 grams. And that's going to be, that's a decent amount. I'm not sure which mold that would be for. None of my molds come out weighing this on my soaps, so it's a little different for me looking at this as well, because these aren't numbers that I typically see on mine, because my recipes are a little different. And then it goes into your oil contents, and it allows you to choose in the soap calculator all of the oils and the butters and the things that you would like to put into your soaps. So here, this recipe, for instance, has olive oil and a total of 850.49 grams of olive oil. And olive oil and coconut oil are typically going to be your big go-to oils that you see in soap recipes. Now, by no means are those your only options to accomplish what it is that those two do, but those are just really, really, really good soap making oils. Olive oil is going to give you, the creaminess and the, that kind of stuff, and the moisturizing aspect. And coconut oil is going to give you the cleaning factor, the factor of the soap that actually, removes dirt, debris, and oils from your skin. And it's also going to give you that hardness factor that is important in having a good long-lasting soap. So you're typically going to see those be the highest percentage in most of your recipes. Like I said, it's not by any means a hard line rule that you have to have those. There are other options that can make up for that. But here you'll see that both of those are, between 35 and 38, 39%. But so their weights will be pretty similar. The predominant, oils that make up this soap in this recipe are going to be those two, and that's going to be something that would be very common. So if you were thinking about getting into the soap making process, I think that, looking at pricings and sourcings of olive oil and coconut oil are going to be one of the first things that you're going to want to look at. And it's important also when you are looking at soaps and making soaps, especially if you're wanting to sell soaps, you'll want to do a price valuation on price of oil per ounce. So that way you can maximize and know exactly what you're paying, what it's costing you per ounce of oil and butter and stuff that you're using in each given recipe. And as I said, this recipe with some of these items in it is going to be on the higher end of cost to you for doing it, because these are there's a few premium ingredients in this that you're going to pay a higher amount on. Rice bran oil is in this recipe, and you'll see that it's a much lower ratio at just 3.85%. It's because that's an oil that just adds an aspect or an attribute to the soap that you don't necessarily need it to be overpowering, and it's also going to be a little bit higher of a cost per ounce for that oil. So it's just something to add a nice little touch to your soap. And then avocado oil is also one that you'll see more frequently, especially in today's world, where avocado products have become a lot more mainstream and more widely available. And also the price is manageable, really, on avocado oil, depending on what it is. And I will say, guys, if you are getting into soap and you are, really interested in it and you're looking at price and stuff, don't think that you have to go out there and with your olive oil that you have to buy like the super, super high dollar, extra virgin, like imported olive oils that are like very, very expensive. And you don't have to get, all premium stuff, because ultimately, guys, you're not cooking with it and you're not eating with it. You are making a soap with it. And it's going to lose a lot of those attributes that you're looking for in those, higher dollar oils, like flavor and, that kind of stuff. None of that matters in soap. It's the attributes that it applies, like moisturization, things like that. So you can do this very, very easily on a budget. And if you wanted, you could even just make a soap using 100% olive oil. That's Castile soap. And it's one of the oldest styles of soap that you could get. But anyway, we'll continue on. And here, mango seed butter, as I mentioned, that's going to be a much more premium level item. Shea butter, which is really, really nice and very common in a lot of soaps that you see out there. Palm kernel oil, you can use that. I don't. I am not a particular fan of that, but in this, it is listed here, and it does have a 5% ratio of that. Now, sweet almond oil is one that I use quite frequently. Sorry, guys. So that, and that's one that is very cost effective as well, because the larger containers you get of each of these things, the more you're going to be able to save, because bulk pricing and things like that. Castor oil is really, really good for bubbly. If you like a really bubbly soap that makes big, beautiful, like the big domed bubbles that are real, that you think of almost like a cartoony bubble, where it's real pretty and it like that, castor oil is really good for that. Now this next box is probably the most important box whenever you're making soaps. I would say that in your recipe listing, these numbers here are what's really going to make or break your recipe, and you'll need to adjust your ratios and stuff here in the calculator to make sure that these numbers fall within the given ranges. Sorry, I've talked a lot today. So in hardness, that's going to be how hard the bar of soap gets. That's going to determine how long it lasts, like, how many washes you're going to get out of it before it starts really diminishing and you need a new bar of soap. And it a range of 29 to 54, so there's quite a bit of playroom there. And then, one second. Sorry, that's a little transition for you, but I had to go get a drink. But yes, so that's going to determine how long-lasting your soap is on the hardness. A rating of 44 is actually really pretty good on the hardness. A lot of times mine falls in the upper 30s, so that's pretty decent. The cleansing, that is going to be a soap's ability to remove debris, oils, and really get the skin clean, as one would think, from one labeled cleansing. And its range is 12 to 22. And so the cleansing on this particular recipe is actually just a touch high. So I would have, if this was mine and I was making this, I would have went and adjusted something in here to kind of bring that number down a little bit, because you don't want your soap being a little too oil stripping unless that's your specific goal. If you're looking for one that is going to cater to an oily skin or something where you want a little bit more oil removal and stuff, that could be the reasoning behind this higher number. Conditioning is a range of 44 to 69, and this soap has a level of 51, which I think that's really good on that, and that's going to be your like moisturizing capacity of your soap. And a lot of times that number is going to come from your like olive oil and things like that that are just really good for moisturizing. That's why you'll see a lot of soaps, if they're made for babies, will be heavy in olive oil, if not made specifically exclusively with olive oil, because it's very moisturizing and very gentle. Anyway, bubbly, that's going to be, like I mentioned, how, with the big, like, pretty bubbles and, the big, like, glossy lather when you're using it. A rating of 31 when the range is 14 to 46 is actually really good. Bubbly is an area that I struggle with maintaining my numbers, because my typical recipes and things tend to lean on the creamy side. So I don't use a lot of castor oil, just predominantly because that's something that where I live is not always available, and it would be something that I have to order more often than not. But there's nothing wrong with a creamy lather soap. I kind of prefer them. And then iodine, so long as you're within range on the iodine and this INS here, you're typically pretty good, and those stay pretty easy to balance. If you add a little too much of something like safflower oil or even like grapeseed oil, sometimes your iodine level can kind of peak a bit, and you'll have to adjust that. But overall, and then you can see it gives a little chart on this, just kind of repeating the same information. But that's just sort of a general overview of what you'd be looking at with soap recipes, and doing things kind of by the book and being very precise and being able to keep records. And that's why this kind of thing is so important, is because whenever you're making soap, especially if you're making soap to sell, this is the kind of record you're going to want to keep. And you will also, in addition to this, you'll keep an extra sheet that will list your additives. And additives are kind of what I'm going to show you ingredient-wise now that we've kind of moved on from that. So I'll move that there, and we will start here. And pardon my various different types of containers. I'm a big fan of all sorts of different containers. I just like the look of how it, on a shelf whenever there's like a bunch of various containers. Sorry, that was Yorkie hair there. She was in my lap a second ago. This is beeswax. And you can see here that the beeswax is in like these little flakes, right? So it is just little chips, flakes, things like that. And you can use beeswax in your soap making process, especially if you're making a soap where, say, you're having a hard time with the oils you're wanting to use getting a hardness level that's enough. So you're wanting to find something that you could add just a touch of to boost your hardness number up to get a little bit longer lasting soap. Beeswax is an absolutely wonderful way to do that. So that is, an option, and it is something that I occasionally use. Sometimes just for the fun of it, I'll adjust a recipe down, just so that I can add beeswax in there, because I just think it's interesting, and people like beeswax. And then here we have this. This is indigo powder. This is predominantly used, if I can open it, there we go. That was on there really tight. This is predominantly used, and I keep moisture packs in some of these things, and you can see in here in the light that looks sort of brown or almost like a tan, mildly greenish color. But this indigo powder, when introduced to water, is going to make a very, very dark blue or at times black coloration. So you can use this as a natural a dye instead of like a man-made mica or something like that. This is just a more natural way to achieve certain colors and things like that. So it's again, it's indigo powder. You can actually use it for several different things, but that is, and then this is green sea clay powder. This this is a really nice one, and I use this in my Strange Tides bay rum soap, just because I thought, you know, when I think of like bay rum and stuff, for whatever reason I think of pirates, and then I think, you know, the green sea clay, just the theme kind of playing in with like sea and ocean and stuff like that. But so this is something that I use frequently. Its little moisture pack is down in there somewhere, just to try to keep, you know, moisture from affecting my powders and stuff like that. But that is the green sea clay. It is it's something that's really good for like pore minimizing and also cleansing. It is nice cleansing additive that you can put a scoop or so of into your soap, just for a little more oomph. So there is that one. Look at me getting powder on my table. And now this next one, this one's just kind of fun. This rosebuds here, these are actual little rosebuds that are really nice if you are wanting to decorate your soaps. Like if you want to put some on the top, like if you're making like bathroom decorative counter soaps, this is a really nice touch that you can do. You could make like a little, like a rose or floral type hand soap and put these on if it's something that you're not really intending to use and you just want it to look really pretty. Or another use you can do for these is you can actually steep these in your water that you're going to use in your soap and kind of make something of like a little rose tea with it, and kind of infuse your water and get that extra little boost and bonus of having some of the benefits and the aroma of the roses. These smell really nice. It's actually one of my favorite smelling things. And when we get to it, I will try to show you, I'll show you rose powder next. And I'll explain a little bit. It with these being natural and just the legitimate thing, it doesn't smell like your commercialized rose perfume powders and things like that. These smell very much like, you can tell these are just dried roses. And the rose powder that I use is here. This is a very, very nice rose powder. And I can smell it already just opening that. It is a much more mild, very earthy smell of rose. It's very much if you allow your rose bushes or something to, when a rose dries out, and you smell it, and it also still kind of has that earthy green leaf type smell. That very much is a note of scent in this, because this is a higher quality rose powder, and it is pretty much just powdered actual buds or the flowers themselves. So it has that, I just really prefer that to the commercialized artificial rose smell. But I use this quite a bit in my stuff. I keep all of my stuff in these smaller containers, like I said, because I enjoy the little various jars and things like that. And then this is also kind of a nice little thing, and you can do the same thing with the lavender buds that you do with the rose buds, and steeping them in the water, that kind of thing, to infuse it, or even add them into oils. You can put these directly into your soap, but I will if you're putting something like this in, even though it's kind of soft right now, once it goes into the soap, like inside of the soap itself, more often than not in the saponification process, your soap is going to dehydrate these, and it's going to become very much a strong exfoliator. It's going to be a textured soap, and these are going to be very rough in that soap. So these are something that if you're going to use them whole, I would decorate the tops of soap with them, but I have found the better use is usually infusing them into your oils or the water that you're using for your soap. These are French lavender buds, and I will show you the difference in the French and then what you would get, say, like if you ordered standard lavender buds. So this is just regular, your more run-of-the-mill lavender buds. The fragrance is very nice on them, but they are not as pretty. Do you see the difference there? Like, these are very purple, kind of vibrant. These are very decorative. And then this, even though the smell is gorgeous and wonderful, this is not something that you would use for your decoration. This is very much utilitarian lavender. This is what you're going to use to do your infusions. You're going to grind this and powder it to use as an exfoliator in your soap, because it doesn't really have to stay pretty, because the saponification, when used inside the soap, is going to change the color of it anyway. So you can, a very clear difference in French lavender and standard lavender that you would see in most places. So this is going to cost more. This is going to be more cost effective and utilitarian as compared to decorative. This is still great. You could do the same thing with this. This can be used utilitarian, but it's going to increase the price of your soaps, because this is a premium ingredient, especially when you're getting the fresher and the more vibrant color, and the nicer those look, the more it is going to run you. Let me get so hard to beat a good Smucker's jar, right? And then here, this is crushed hibiscus. I would use this I would say exclusively, because hibiscus is a larger particles, and it's already pretty rough once it's dried. So you don't want to put this into your bar of soap. This is going to be something you're very much going to use to make that like tea situation out of your water that you're going to use in your lye, something like that, where it's going to have the aroma and some of the nice little attributes that the hibiscus would give something, and the little added bougie edge of having it be hibiscus. And then I also have somewhere, here they are, I have whole dried hibiscus, and so you'll see there, that is a whole dried hibiscus, and this is, I would use it in the same manner. Actually, if I'm being honest, this is this. I just crushed it into the smaller. I just keep a jar of this because I enjoy having jars of stuff like this. But before I used it like this, I would probably crush it and use it in a bit of cheesecloth in the stuff so that it's easy to get the particles out, or however it is that you're steeping your stuff. But that is the difference. That is the whole flour as compared to the crushed flour. Here, Valencia orange. This is something that you would use in the top of, like on the top of soaps, or you can put this directly into soaps, and it makes a wonderful, if you're wanting like a scrubby exfoliant soap, this is a really nice option, and it smells nice, smells very much like oranges. But that is Valencia orange, and it's just really dried orange peel that is crumbled up in there. And then we've got purple Brazilian clay. This is typically more expensive. This is something I would put in soaps much more sparingly. I was trying to get it in the light a little bit, hard to see, but it is there we go. You can kind of see the purpley gray color of it. It is a very nice ingredient. It's along the lines, it's going to do similar things as like some of the other clays, like the green sea clay, the French pink clay, which is here. This I use a lot in conjunction with like rose powder, just because for some reason when I think of French soaps, I think of roses and French clay. But that is another clay option that I have. I enjoy these little jars. I got these in a big pack of them on, I think they were through Amazon, I believe. Really affordable. This white stuff in the jar, no funny business. This is titanium dioxide. This is a white pigment. This is something that you would use if you want a soap to be more stark white. You can, mix this in your water or oils, whatever however you want. And it is a white pigment, and it will brighten the coloration of your soap. This is, I don't often use this. It's much easier to get this to have the desired effect in cold processed soap, and I do predominantly hot process, so I don't use this, but I do have it, and it's just a nice little interesting thing that is a colorant for soap. Here we have bentonite clay powder. I have used bentonite clay powder a few times in soaps. It's not my favorite. It's something you have to be very careful with the amount you put into your soap. Otherwise, you could end up with something that has kind of the texture of a plaster of Paris. But it was a clay powder that I purchased, and I tried it, and I do have it if I needed it. But it's an interesting sort of clay. I guess the bentonite in it makes the texture difference and stuff like that. It of course would have its uses, but I just thought I would show you that was yet one more kind of unique item that I had for the soaps. This one is another clay. This is Rajul Red clay. It's a detoxifying and rejuvenating type clay. You'll notice it has that almost like, kind of almost a cinnamon-y color to it there, or a curry powder. It's kind of what it looks like. But this is a really nice kind of premium line clay powder that I have used in several recipes. But it is yet just another option for the clays. Clays are something that you'll see a lot in beauty supply stuff. I enjoy working with them. I'm gonna have to wash my table. And then this, even though it's rubbed off on the top here, this is beetroot. I mentioned it in my other soap video. This is one of the coolest things, I think, well, my personal opinion on it, because it is, not only does it have good beauty benefits and positive things like that, but this is very much another natural dye that you can use. You can accomplish really pretty pinks and stuff in your soaps using beetroot, and this will turn red when wet, like beets are, that dark blood red. This does deepen considerably in color when exposed to water. So it is just, and it smells really nice. If you like the smell of beets, this is going to be right down your alley. I use this in predominantly in my soap that I call Purple Loaf, which I will be making, and I will probably record my making of that soap because I do have someone who has ordered that soap, and that will be the first one on my list that I fulfill. So I will be working on that, and we will be using beetroot. But I thought that I would show you this beet powder. I think it's really cool, very interesting, and has a very nice aroma to it as well. Then we have blue butterfly tea, and this is blue butterfly tea powder. This, it's kind of low in this jar, I need to refill it. This is something that, sorry for the clacking, I didn't even think about that, guys. That is, my apologies there. But this is another thing that you can use that will supply a bit of coloration. It does have a very blue color whenever it is steeped into water, but I use it in a couple soaps as a very, very, very mild exfoliant because it is so finely ground that it doesn't really have a scratchiness to it, but it does have it where you can feel the texture of it inside the soap. And I really enjoy that. I think that's a nice little plus and benefit and a natural way to get that exfoliant in there. And also just sort of like another unique ingredient that really can grab people's attention. This blue butterfly tea powder as compared to just blue butterfly tea. Then we have spearmint. This is something that I would also use in kind of a steeping style process. You can use this in your soap if you want. It would be a much stronger exfoliant because, again, in the hardening process of your soap, it is going to toughen the spearmint. So it would be very scratchy. It might be something that you could use and put in for a bit of refreshing stuff if you were making like a men's hand soap or whatever, where it was like, you know, removing grease or oil, things like that. But what I do with the spearmint is actually that same process I mentioned of like making almost the tea and steeping that, so you have a mintiness and a mentholated aspect to your soap from a natural source, and that just gives kind of one more option. It's a very nice, refreshing smell. Spearmint has a lovely smell. I much prefer spearmint, the aroma of it, to say peppermint, but peppermint is also a really good common thing in beauty supply as well. This one is an interesting ingredient. This is camel milk powder. Pop that off there. This ingredient is a very, it's probably one of my more premium ingredients. The camel milk powder that I get is imported, and this amount of powder would probably run you, if you wanted that amount, because it comes in tiny little packets and stuff, it would run you, oh goodness, I'd say that's probably, well, that's at least $70 in camel milk powder, I think. The one that I get, but it is very, very nice, very rich, and has a nice aspect, and kind of just a bougie sort of effect you can add to a soap. But there are benefits to it as well. Camel milk is really good. It's actually better than goat's milk for many skin related conditions and things. But like I said, this is definitely not something that you would want to go crazy on putting in your soaps unless you're charging, you know, crazy money for it. If you're making yourself personal soaps that only, you know, you're using, and you want like super really hold on, I can't, oh, I couldn't get that, it was so far away. I'm trying to loosen it. Okay. This says honey, but that's clearly not honey, is it? This is my Himalayan salt that I use. I do not use it in its current state. When I am going to use this and put this in a soap, like my High Garden, the rose Himalayan salt soap, I take this and I powder it. I do not use these heavy chunks. You would not want that in your soap. You would not be, you wouldn't want to wash your body with that. That would be very rough, very, very rough. But I take this and I bust it down in a grinder and I powder this up and make it much more soothing and manageable on the skin. But those were just some of my items and that I thought I would show you. Here's one last thing I'll show, just because I think it's an interesting thing, and how I talked about, you know, infusing the flowers and stuff in oils and waters. This is hibiscus that has been sitting in this almond oil for, oh goodness, a number of months, and it will continue to stay in there for a little bit longer. And then at some point I will use it in making a soap, and I will filter out all those particles and things like that, and it will just add an extra little layer to whatever soap I decide to make with this. This is something that, because of the months of time investment that goes into it, it's just kind of a little novelty thing almost. You don't have to do things like this, but this is kind of something that I do that's sort of fun for me, just to kind of mess around with and see what I can come up with, like fragranced and infused oils in a natural way without adding not dyes, but fragrance oils or essential oils, things like that. So but yeah, so that's something that I've done as well. Okay guys, I guess that kind of wraps it up. I just kind of wanted to show a few things and go over a few little base things. I will be making a soap video. We'll look at this while I'm doing it. I will be making a soap video where I'm making soap, possibly tomorrow. It should be tomorrow. That is my plan, unless something else comes up. That is my plan, is to get that done, because I do need to make several batches of soap, because I need to replenish my stock so that I can fill requested orders and be able to do that kind of thing. So, but thank you guys. Make sure subscribe, like, leave me comments, ask me questions about this process. If you have questions about certain ingredients, if you know, various, whatever it is that you want to know, just leave me a comment, and I will do my best to get with everybody and answer their questions. And as always, I love you guys. Thank you for being here, and I hope you in some way enjoyed this very different video. But thank you, and I will see you next time.